Welcome, everybody, to another episode of MC Fireside Chats. My name is Brian Searl with Insider Perks and Modern Campground and a bunch of other places, apparently. I need signs for everything, I think, and then I'll just have somebody who's my sign changer and changes the signs randomly throughout the show. That would be maybe too intrusive, and I don't know. Anyway, something came to my head. I probably should just stop talking now. But welcome to another episode of MC Fireside Chats. We've got a couple of recurring guests here. We've got Greg Emmert, founder and principal at Vireo. What is, like you're the principal, like school principal, or just you're the owner?
Yes.
Or
no,
I'm like it's that without the principal.
It's more like school principal, but it's really strange when I have to paddle someone because I'm a team of one, and that's let's go on to another conversation.
We probably should, because I don't think you're
weird direction now
anymore. Like, this is 2025. No. I don't think.
It's changing gears.
And I thought I started the show awkward, but thanks for rescuing me, Greg. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. Anytime.
Matt, welcome, recurring guest Matt Whitermore from a new company since we've last seen him. Matt, welcome. You want to introduce yourself briefly?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Brian. Good to see you, Greg. Good to see you, Brent. I am, as of about 100 days ago, I am Director of Market Expansion in parallel roles at Climb Capital and Unhitched Management. So helping grow the management portfolio as well as the investment portfolio of RV parks and campgrounds across the country.
Awesome. I'm excited for you, man. So talk a little bit about, like, briefly, and I'll give everybody else a chance to introduce themselves, so don't take too long, because we'll come back to you and talk about the things, right? But a little bit about kind of your history in the industry, because you've been a voice of presence. You had the podcast that you were doing for, was it Good Morning Outdoors, for a while that, whatever, screw them, they canceled a good show, right? So you've been involved with a lot of different things, right? So give us a brief history of Matt.
Yeah, really appreciate the opportunity to share. So I am based in Syracuse, New York. I have always been in commercial real estate finance and investments in some facet. I would say I'm no longer in that industry. I try to preach that we are not in the real estate industry, because I think that's an attitude that's pretty prevalent in our industry, especially with newcomers. But I'm a part owner in 3 campgrounds and RV parks in the Northeast. I've done some consulting in the space, and always been a big fan of Unhitched and Climb Capital and Bob Preston, and been in touch with him and had the opportunity to join. So bounced around a little bit, fell in love with the industry after kind of falling into it accidentally almost 5 years ago, and haven't looked back since. It's a great industry, and it's a pleasure to show up every day and work in the outdoor hospitality industry.
Awesome. Well, thanks for being here, man, and giving us a little bit of your time. Greg, I didn't give you a chance to introduce yourself properly. Go ahead.
I think you did it right. You did a nice job. Yeah. Founder and principal, whatever the principal might be, at Vireo, outdoor consulting firm, helping folks grow and scale and purchase, and, as Brian would say, do all the things outdoor hospitality related.
Awesome. Well, thanks for being here again, Greg. And then our special
guest, for having me.
Brent Parker. Please introduce yourself, sir.
Sure.
Last but not least, for sure.
Yeah. So my name is Brent Parker. I'm the CEO of Open Campground. And my kind of journey with Open Campground. So first off, Open Campground is a reservation management software, enterprise software for medium to large enterprise parks, whether it's campgrounds, RV parks, marinas, equestrian. We kind of provide that software. My background is kind of from the property management payment space.
Okay.
So I was a general manager for a company called Emmert Software. They provide software for commercial and residential property managers. So I was able to kind of build out that space on the payment side, on building products that were kind of designed similar to campground owners, to kind of optimize their operations. And then more so on the personal side, I think I'm just a serial entrepreneur. I just finished a book called The Secret Power of Inversion Thinking.
Okay.
It's essentially designed for startups to avoid failure by thinking backwards. So it kind of helps you analyze things before it happens. And so you can kind of see, instead of looking at the success, you say, well, wait a minute, how could this fail? And so we look at every single aspect of a business to determine how could something fail, and then you form a plan around that.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest, I think I would say, strengths that I've seen myself have in my company is like, and it sounds arrogant when it comes out of my mouth, right? But I feel like I'm always 20 steps ahead of most people. And I don't mean literally like I'm smarter than people. I mean that I have planned for whatever path is going to happen, I think. And obviously, there's always paths you're like, oh, I didn't think of that. That sucks, right? But I've always thought about like, well, if this happens, I'm going to do this. If this happens, I'm going to do this. If this happens, I'm going to do this. And then I calculate the risk reward benefit based on all of that. So that's really good advice for entrepreneurs and people to hear, I think. So
Yeah, definitely.
I'm glad you wrote that book. Where can they find that book?
It's just on Barnes & Noble. So I have a Barnes & Noble version, and then also an ebook version. I'll be more than happy to send it to you.
Yeah, please drop it in the chat here. The not the private chat, but if you drop it in the, maybe you can you guys see the chat on the right hand side on your views or no?
Yes,
No.
I can see it.
If you drop it in the public chat, it'll go to the platforms that support it too, so everybody can comment on it. Some of it, like Facebook, doesn't let it go to groups, but you drop it in there, everybody can see it. And if not, we'll share it on the screen. So, cool. All right. Well, thank you for being here. I'm excited to dive more into what Open Campground does and all that stuff later in the show. I think how we typically start the show, so we're talking mostly about AI and marketing and technology on this kind of episode this week that we have, the fourth week of every month. Is there anything that has come across your guys' desk, probably more to Greg and Matt, since we see each other? Well, we haven't seen Matt yet, but we will see each other once a month. Is there anything that's come across your guys' desk that you feel is worthy of discussion in those kind of domains?
Matt, you go ahead.
You know, I wouldn't necessarily call myself an AI expert or a marketing expert, although I've been learning a lot. I think it's a really interesting thread to pull on for our industry because, at least the way I look at our industry, is it's kind of anti-technology. It's anti-right. We're looking for that human connection. We're looking to foster conversations around the campfire, people putting their cell phones away. And, you know, we're obviously using technology, and it would be foolish to not embrace it and to try and stay on the cutting edge. But when I think about marketing and technology and AI, there's almost a desire to kind of make it invisible, right? Yep. It's a force multiplier. But I personally don't think I want to lead with technology in my campgrounds. I want to make the booking process as easy as possible, as streamlined as possible. I want to make, you know, the store purchase, like hook up the iPad, do the self-service retail, keep the store open 24/7 and give everyone a code to get in. But other than those few things, I'm striving to find ways to kind of use technology, but almost make it invisible to the guest in a lot of ways. Does that make sense?
Well, that's the way it should be, right? Like we've done, it's kind of sort of like, I never self-promote myself, but what we're doing at Insider Perks is like sort of we're pivoting into operations, into figuring out how we can utilize technology in that way. So we went from like marketing, and then we're doing AI, and we're still doing AI, obviously, and marketing, but we're also doing more of that consulting piece of how do we take technology and weave it in with AI into the operational aspect of the campgrounds. And you're right, that starts with like just chat and calls. I still remember to this day, the first time we announced our chatbot in 2023, I had a comment on LinkedIn and somebody said, I don't want to talk to AI more. Our whole goal is to do what you just said, right? Get people outside. We want them disconnected more. And my rebuttal is, well, the faster you can get them to the reservation, the faster you can get them outside more. So like, but to your point, you're right. Like it has to be weaved in a way where like you step into the cabin and the lights come on, because you use AI and automations and smart homes and stuff like that to where you can speak and the TV comes on, or it just knows that you want it, right, without you pressing buttons, to the point where you can, you know, like you said, the self-checkouts and the even robots delivering stuff is more of a visible aspect of it. But personalizing a guest day before they arrive, just ways that you can allow a guest to have a better experience without shoving a phone or a pad or something in their face.
Right. Yeah, it's a really interesting discussion. For example, I'm admitting I was probably wrong here. I had an immediate aversion to the AI phone systems, answering systems. I was definitely wrong about that. And it took struggling through the realities of being a campground owner and operator, having campgrounds in really remote places where there's no cell phone service. And yeah, we have the park Wi-Fi, but that's a challenge in and of itself to have really reliable Wi-Fi out in the mountains in a heavily wooded environment. So I came around to it when I was banging my head against the wall of, we're not picking up the phone enough because the manager has their cell phone on their hip, but they're out in the woods with no service. And, we played with the idea, do we centralize phone systems? Do we, do we do a call center outsourced? Do we hire somebody just to sit by the phone? And I came around to, wow, that AI phone system is really smart. And
Yeah.
right, people are just calling to get the information. They're calling to get the answer or make the booking. Yes, it would be wonderful if it was a warm human voice giving them that wonderful human connection, but that might not always be possible. So the next best thing is to just give them what they want and what they're
Yeah,
calling
and it
for.
depends on
So,
how you implement it too. Like if you implement it as a UPS does, right? And their whole point is just to cut staff and to make it as confusing as possible, and you can never get to a human, and it's really frustrating. That's what people don't like about those phone systems, and
Right.
that's what we've had for the better part of 10, 15 years, is the frustrating experience.
Yeah.
But if you implement it in a way that like as guest service is your number one focus, now I have an AI that can answer the phone call after hours when no one else would answer the phone call. Or I have somebody who can answer questions from guests when they're on property where it just wasn't possible. I didn't have enough staff before. But also to make the reservation. Like we've fully integrated with CampSpot now to where you can make the whole booking. You can get like the whole payment links where you can have a human if you want. If they say human, or if they say is my package behind the desk from the FedEx, the AI knows that it needs to transfer a call to somebody. Right. And so we're never trying to take the human equation out of it. We're just trying to provide better guest service. And whatever that balance is, and every human being will be different. If you start with the guest in mind, with everything that you do, you're going to win.
Well said.
Yeah, we on our side, it's interesting because we have the same kind of thought process, Matt, when it comes to using AI for people that might be, they're concerned about just AI in general and how does it work, and do I have to learn this? Do I have to take a course? And all these things, all these concerns that they have. So I kind of look at it as saying, okay, how can we take AI and intertwine it into your day-to-day without you thinking about it? And really finding a way that you don't look at it as a feature, but you just say, this is valuable to have. And it would be invaluable to me if I didn't have it. So how I kind of approach it is saying, we could develop, and this is what my engineers are doing now, is developing reports and analytics based on AI and based on the data that you already have.
Yep.
So that way it prompts you and says, hey, this report is available to you because we've noticed this is the trends. This is what you're trying to develop. And it already does it for you versus you entering a prompt and saying, I want this. But we are working on something like that, right? Where you could, let's say, Matt, you have a park and you say, I need a very specific report, with these details, this KPI, and this is what I want to achieve. We think that could be solved with AI, just a simple prompt, right? I want this report so I can accomplish Y. And that's generated by AI. And then now you have a custom report, right? Or maybe you want a dashboard that has 5 or 10 KPIs that you want to see on a daily basis. That can be generated by AI. So giving, I think, older demographics tools that show value without having a very steep learning curve is, I think, where you need to go. I think sooner or later, people will have to adopt AI, whether we like it or not, sooner or later. And it's going to be, well, who has the best AI, tools that's going to win the game, I think. So I think it's really just a matter of making sure that it shows value, not just features, right? Just it has to show value.
Well, it goes back to being invisible, right? So what you're talking about is one of the biggest benefits of AI is the fact that there's so much data out there that we can't touch and we can't analyze because there's just not enough human beings on the planet. There was a study that they put out, I think it was by Ohio State University, actually, and I didn't get deep into the study. But basically, in one of the nuggets of the study was that there's so many petabytes of data on research and science and biology just sitting there on hard drives that we just don't have 10,000 or 20,000 human beings to sit there and pore over that data. And so all that data is from research and case studies and scientists and people who have done experiments. And then there's scientists who are like, I have a great idea, and they're repeating the same experiment that failed because it's buried on a hard drive. That's where AI is going to be super powerful to unlock. And it will, like, not pivoting away too much from our industry, but what you're saying too is there are so many park owners who have so much data at their fingertips. Who stays with me? When do they stay with me? What's my demographic? Where are they coming from? All the Google Analytics data, and they just don't even know the right question to ask to start. Just like people don't know how to prompt, or people don't know what to put in the box in ChatGPT or whatever else, right? They don't know where to start. And so, as going back to our like whole weaving in our whole invisibility thing, as it becomes more proactive, you're going to see it get more helpful. And the adoption curve of like, yes, there are 800 million weekly users of ChatGPT. It's going to still take time for certain segments of the population. Although there are like 90-year-olds that I overhear at restaurants now talking about how it's a better search engine than Google. So I don't know if you can pin it down to a narrow demographic, but there's going to be segments of people who take a while to adopt that. But they're all already using AI. They're using AI on Facebook. They're using AI on TikTok. They've been using AI on YouTube since 2011. They'll use AI in Windows, everywhere else, right? So like you're going to get to the point where you don't even need to know too much of a rabbit hole. So I'll back myself out of it after I say this. But like, if you saw something come out a few weeks ago, there was a product that Claude released called Imagine that was only live for their $200 a month subscribers for, I think, 5 days. But there's still YouTube videos online about it. It's called Claude Imagine. And it was basically a desktop that they showed AI, not just coding, but literally building the entire operating system on the fly as you clicked a button. So you clicked a button that said, build me an email program from 3025, and it built like an Outlook. Just the shell of it with the inbox. And then when you went to click reply, it built the reply function in a couple seconds. And then when you click send, it built the send function. That's the future of software. So people are going to be able to start with maybe a shell of Open Campground, for example, right? And then they're going to say like, well, I want a housekeeping feature that does this, and it'll just build it. If you allow that, right, on your platform, and then everybody's going to have their own different version of Open Campground that works perfectly for them at their park.
And it's funny, Brian, you hit the nail on the head. That's exactly what we envision Open Campground being, is that you can just come in and build your own experience, right? If you want a housekeeping tool, if you want a maintenance tool or a portal or whatever you want, just use the prompt. We'll create it for you, and there's no cost to that, right? Like I think that's the modern way of, instead of having 10, 15 engineers just typing away and making new features, let the user determine what features they want.
Yeah, and they'll be able to just speak it into existence. And that's been like, and I almost say, like, I don't really mean this, but like, you see all the people who are like, forever, I don't need to adopt to computers, I don't need to embrace technology. Maybe they were right, because now they can just talk to it. Like ever since the dawn of computers, right? You've had to learn PCs or learn Macs. If you wanted to learn Photoshop, you had to learn that. If you wanted to learn CRMs, you had to learn HubSpot. What do I do with a spreadsheet? I got to learn Excel. Now you just talk. Not yet. It's getting there. You're going to just talk to everything. Make me a spreadsheet, do this, do that. You're not going to have any learning curve anymore. So it's going to open the door to all kinds of creative use cases for people. And this idea that it no longer do you have to spend 20 to 40 to 80 to 100 hours taking a course and learning something and getting certified. And I think that's great for humanity long term. It might be terrible for software companies, but what else has come across our desk, guys? I mean, I'm happy to jump in if you want me to, but go ahead, Greg.
Well, so it's not necessarily what came across my desk, but just what I came back from. I just spent a couple hours with TJ Emmert from Campsite 360. He's right up the street from me here. I live in Akron. He's in Cuyahoga Falls. So we met for coffee that turned into 3 hours of discussions around the industry and where he's headed. And I love connecting with him and people like you, Brian, and Matt, Brent. It's why I'm looking forward to the upcoming OHCE so much, because it's a great perspective expander right? I feel like my perspective goes from the blinders to it just starts moving outward. So it was a really good conversation with him and everything they've been doing in his travels and with their product and where it's headed. Total plug for TJ. I guess I just earned my coffee, but yeah, that was it. Had a really good time talking with him. Looking forward to catching up with him again at OHC and all four of you guys too. I'm assuming. Brent, are you going to be there? You going to be at the conference?
Yeah, we're going to try.
Okay.
That's coming up in
like two and a half, 3 weeks, something like that.
November. Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, TJ's a great guy. Like, it's interesting, and he runs a great company too. He has a great product. I think it's interesting to think about how, as we look at some of these vendors, how what AI is going to become is going to impact their product and service. And it doesn't mean necessarily put them out of business, but change the way that they create or the features that they have in their product or things like that, right? So if you look at 360 tours, we're going to just pick on this because Greg brought it up. So maybe you're going to unearn your coffee here in a second. But so like if you look at 360 tours, we just saw ChatGPT release a browser yesterday. We'll play a video on that in a second about ChatGPT Atlas, where it can basically use agentic features to navigate all the websites for you. So you can give it a task, it can open up tabs, it can do all the things for you. You can come back to it 10 minutes later. It will shop for you. It'll do whatever you want, right? Plan trips, etc. In that world where you say, go research me a camping trip, and it knows your Gmail and your calendar and all the things we've talked about before, right? Does it care about the virtual tour on the website? Does it look around and click? Does it watch the little videos? Maybe, but certainly that's valuable data. And again, I'm not saying that TJ's in trouble. I'm just saying it's an interesting question that businesses like TJ should be asking and thinking about. Where does this go? How does this do it? It's the same way we've been telling clients for a year and a half, much to their screaming protest and some leaving us, that design doesn't matter when an agent doesn't care what your colors and your call to action are that you're agonizing about for 15 hours in a marketing meeting. So like nobody really wants to hear that, but so that's where it's how does that change how you do marketing and how you reach people and how you I don't know the answers to all of these things, but they're questions that need to be asked now. You don't have years. You don't even have months.
Yeah. And I think actually only speaking for his product, but the data that it's able to draw from the customer, where they spend their time, sort of. I'm not going to try to dive too far into it because it was a conversation that was at length with TJ, but I'm not going to be able to do it justice. But the data that he's able to draw from the new products, and if anybody's going to be at OHCE, stop by the campsite 360 trip. Now I sound like I'm repping him. I'm not. Sure, he's got a good product.
How much vodka did he put in your coffee? It might have been.
It was a lot of caffeine. The data that he's able to draw, I think, is going to be really, really sexy to the agent, to the LLM, because it gives it, as Brian, as you have taught me, right? All of those extra points that it can see when it looks at a site, when it does this. Okay, so it goes out and says, book me a camping trip, and it goes out and it looks at maybe so if it's my personal agent, which Brian, we're going to have those in 3 weeks? Not really, but really fast.
I already have one with all the memory and all the things.
Okay,
not right? Yours, but
right.
Yeah.
But we'll all have agents in a couple of years tops.
Max, yeah.
Max
2 years.
Once you have that, to your point, and this is for you two guys, if you don't know, this is what happens when you hang out with Brian too long, you start repeating everything that he says to you. There's going to be no more, let's see, I want to go camping near Sleeping Bear Dunes. So let me Google these campgrounds and all that. Oh, and I know I don't need to look at, for me, I'm talking about me, no offense to anybody. I don't want to camp at a KOA or a Jellystone. That's not my jam. I'm still a tent camper. I want to camp out in the woods. So I'm not going to look at those. The agent's going to do the same thing because it knows me. And it's going to go down from, I want to look at these few parks to, hey, dude, here's the camp site that you need to book. This is the one. It's yours. Here it is. This is the one. And I know this because I know you and I know all your preferences and I know what you want. A 360 tour makes it easier for that agent to get to that. So I don't know. I think there's a lot of runway for those tours if they're built right. And it'll be interesting to see, to your point, Brian, it'll be interesting to see where the AI takes us in the very, very near future. Because I really look forward to that, because I do struggle. Okay, let's make it personal now. I totally struggle because we are tent campers and we're not good at peopling. Like if ideal world, we backpack every time we go camping. That's just not possible. So we car camp a lot. You have to deal with people when you car camp. There are other people around. I want that site. I want the one with the most seclusion. I can't wait for the agent that just finds that for me. Oh my gosh. Because right now that's tough, because most of the industry is built around, come and stay 20 feet from your neighbor and enjoy the bounce pillow and pool and chocolate slip and slide. And I'm like, oh my God, if I could I can't get far enough away from that. Again,
Yeah.
lots of my clients use these. I love you guys. Thank you. There's no problem. There's a market for that. It's just not for me. I'm speaking personally at this point.
But to your point, like how does it decide those things are questions that every company should be asking themselves? To Brent's plan, like have a plan for the future. Like you can look at a company as big as KOA, right? KOA's got a well-established brand, great reputation, lots of locations, have been here forever. If you ask AI about camping, it's probably going to return something about KOA in some form or context, right? Depending on your question. And so in the future, there's a very reasonable explanation that something related to camping will continue to surface KOA. But when the agents are personal, even when the agent is yours and it knows that you like to stay at KOA, is there a point where the AI is like, well, this is still a better option for you than the KOA? You might be brand loyal. You as Greg might be brand loyal, just pretend putting it on you, right? But Greg, like, you really don't know what you're missing here, and I know you better than you know yourself.
Right.
So then at that point, are you going to second guess the AI? And I'm not saying this will happen. I'm just saying this is a question that KOA should be asking, and maybe they already are. They have a lot of smart people out there, right? But a question they should be asking, like, how does brand loyalty look like in an era where everybody gets what's perfect for them, or as close to it as the AI can find?
And as a married man who technically already has an agent who second guesses himself all the time, you do not question it. You just do.
Well, it's like, I mean, you remember the simplest example of like Google Maps. Like I still remember when Google Maps, maybe not first came out, but when I was starting to use it all the time, you used to second guess the way Google was sending you on the map. And
all the
every
time
I did that, I would run into a traffic jam for like 30 minutes. Fuck, I thought I was smarter than Google, but no. So every way Google takes me, this is just how I go now.
Yep.
I know there's something hidden that maybe it's not telling me in a red line, but it's there. Like
I think though, when you think about AI and figuring out like personas, those persona building and kind of understanding to what Greg mentioned, like AI has to know, your likes, your dislikes, your concerns. The typical, when you're putting a business together and you're trying to figure out what your ideal customer persona is, they have to know exactly what your likes and dislikes are. So I think, Brian, to your question, if Greg always wants to do tent and this is okay, this one over here in Tahoe is perfect for you, they'll know, hey, I might want to show you this one because I understand that you might be a little flexible in your persona, or you might be someone that says, you know what, let me try something different that I normally don't try. So AI should know that and then give you some other options to say, here's your main one, but perhaps here's 2 or 3 that
you might want to also consider.
Yep.
But then how often will people just be like, well, which one do you think is best for me? I already do that with AI. Which one do you think is best? Like, I don't always listen to it, right? But I'm curious to hear what its unbiased opinion is of my own psychology.
Yeah.
And oftentimes it gets it right. So yeah, it's just these are questions that everybody's got to start asking about their software, their products, their brands, the discovery. Everything's and we're just still like, people think this is moving fast. We're still like in the bottom end of the exponential. Like, you wait a year and see how fast what's happening right now. And I saw this statistic the other day. 92% of the first half of 2025's GDP in the United States was driven by AI and data center spending. Excluding that, our GDP would have been up 0.1%. Nothing else is happening in the economy that's good. I mean, blanket statement, right? But from a spend perspective. And GDP
Yeah, nothing's
isn't
driving it, right?
Yeah, GDP is an
Yeah.
imperfect number. There's all kinds of things that, like, that's not the best calculation we should be using for the economy. I know all that, right? But just based on that number, 92% is a staggering number. And what they're doing now is building these data centers. So you've got still a little bit of time, and by a little bit of time, I mean like 6 months. Like, you have a little bit of time while these data centers are being built. But once the compute comes online, then you're going to see all these data centers being used to solve diseases and biology and physics, and like they've already got them that are solving foundation level math problems, frontier level math problems, sorry, and winning gold medals at these super complex competitions that only 10 mathematicians in the world could solve before. ChatGPT and Gemini just won another medal on it, like I think a week or two ago. And so once, like, they've basically solved math. They're like 99% of the way to solving math. Once you solve math, you solve everything in the world. And all those data centers are going to start. So you think it's moving fast now. You wait 6 months. Like, you still have maybe a chance to get in here and start to learn and play. And nobody says that we know where it's going. I don't know where it's going in 2 years. But I know you need to play with it, touch it, feel it, and learn how to prompt with it and talk to it. And if you can do that and figure out how to level up your skills, like, I think we're headed into a world, and this isn't a year away, but like, I think you're headed into a world as an employee at wherever you are, that you have to learn a skill, and in 30 days it'll be outdated and AI will do it better, and you have to learn another skill. And then it'll start to go to 3 weeks, 2 weeks, 1 week, and a day. You're going to have to, everybody who wants to retain a job is going to have to be a constant skill learner.
Yep.
Or an orchestrator of AI or whatever you do. So, but you still have a chance to be in on that. We're going to talk a little bit about that on Outwired later today, about how to obtain some of those skills and do all that kind of stuff. But what else we got, guys?
I was recently reading an article about Expedia and Booking.com, the integration with ChatGPT, and I wouldn't say I'm on the cutting edge of this, catching up, but really good follow on LinkedIn. I don't know him personally, but I've been enjoying following his stuff. Is Brad Brewer, a company called Agentic Hospitality. So he should be on this show, because I think he'd be probably schooling us all in where this is all going. But just super interesting, right? I had a little taste of this, which was kind of eye-opening. On my newsletter, I noticed the first new newsletter subscriptions that were attributed to ChatGPT and Claude.
Mm-hmm.
And that was like kind of mind-blowing to me. And that's right. That's like not that cool. As I said, I would feel like I'm catching up in the world of AI. I use it every day, but I'm just scratching the surface of
like,
what's
I'm
possible.
obsessed with it, man, and I'm catching up with AI every day.
It's crazy, right? It's like,
yeah,
you can't really like be on the cutting edge of it. I mean, I guess you can, but
in one narrow field, you can't be all of it, right?
Right. So, I mean, I use it. I'm on Gamma every day now. Messing around trying to figure out how to create graphics, because I don't have a design bone in my body. And kind of switched over from ChatGPT to Claude to help increase writing output, and feel like it took me like 2 years. Like, I was really resistant to it, and probably 2 years ago I would dabble with ChatGPT on the free account, and like, all right, I'm gonna try and figure out how to tackle this project with AI, and I would like spend 2 hours on it and then just be like, this doesn't work, get fed up with it. And it really took me like probably clearing everything off my plate for like 2 weeks to just bang my head against that wall and dive into prompt engineering and try a bunch of different stuff. And then it was honestly, it was like 2 weeks, and then it kind of clicked for me to at least like learn about prompt engineering and actually have it be a tool in my tool belt. And it's been, every month I dive into some more prompt engineering and watch some more YouTube videos, and I feel like I'm gradually kind of increasing my my grasp on it. Still total novice, but it's been fun, and it's super fun to think about all these things, where it's going, and that right. The next step is that first campground booking that's attributed to ChatGPT, or through Expedia.
Well, your own chatbot, yeah. Like we've had that, yeah. But yeah, that's
right, yeah.
I think they're probably existing. Just like I know you're talking about coming direct from ChatGPT.
Right.
I think those have already existed if you trace it.
Oh,
like,
sure, yeah.
Google Analytics, yeah.
Yep, definitely.
But yes, there's a couple interesting things you mentioned. I'll touch on the easy one first, like the learning thing. There's a great course that we've been going through, and we've been trying to teach our team this for 2 years, right? But there's a great course that Google came out with, or I guess maybe a program called Google Skills that's pretty new, and it's like $50 a month, I think. Or somehow, I don't know, they keep saying it's free, but somehow I ended up paying $50 a month for it. So anyway, but it's a prompt. The one of the main courses in there is like prompt engineering and learning how to prompt. And so they talk through the key elements of the prompt, and it's really easy to understand, and it's from people in Google, and they break it up like into short videos and teach you everything. So like that's a good place to start there, I think, is Google Skills. Other than that, YouTube. But you bring up an interesting point too, like going back to your Expedia Booking.com thing. I have told people for years that OTAs are in trouble because OTAs were primarily built because Google sucked, right? Like you search something in Google, Google didn't understand you the way AI does now. And so then you had to go to a site and click filters. How many bedrooms do you want? How many people are there? Do you have young kids? Can I bring pets to this? And you had to check a bunch of boxes. And that's what the OTAs served. And then they began to aggregate everything together for convenience and all that stuff, right? So the convenience aspect is still there, but the big problem they were solving no longer exists because AI can understand everything you want, and for all the reasons that we talked about personalization. But where you're headed now is, like I would have told you, and I've told clients on this on the call, that I don't think AI itself is ever going to prefer a Booking.com or an Expedia. I think AI will take you straight to the source if it exists. I don't know, but my gut instinct says AI will take you directly to the Campground website, right? But it is interesting now that you've got these big players like Expedia and Booking.com who are integrating and who have thought about this and who know this and are now building these integrations. Campgrounds aren't going to build that kind of integration, right? We're probably very unlikely to see a campground reservation system book an integration like that in the next couple years. For whatever, like they all have different things and different priorities, right?
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see. I think the model is that Expedia and Booking.com end up paying millions of dollars in advertising to have their little buttons surface or whatever in ChatGPT to make the booking. But I think otherwise it goes straight to the consumer. And like the example I gave a year and a half ago is with like Delta Airlines. I think like right now, Delta probably spends millions of dollars a year on pay-per-click advertising on Google. And the people who click those ads for Delta Airlines and whatever market they're advertising on often don't find what they want because they need a flight that leaves at 6 o'clock in the morning, or they're only sitting first class, or it has to leave from this airport at this time and connect in this city. And so that $2 or $4 or $8 that Delta's spending on that click is completely wasted, right? But where you're going is a direct integration with Delta's API into the AI, so the AI can search the inventory. And the AI will know that somebody, because of their schedule and their calendar and Google and everything they know, they like to leave at 6 o'clock in the morning. They like to fly first class. They only leave from this airport, whatever else. And it will surface Delta's inventory right in front of you and say, I have this seat for you that's available. Do you want it? And when you click that, Google will pay a cost to acquire the customer, which is a number you see in Google Ads now. That's typically like, if you're doing really good, it's like 20 to $30, right? If you're doing terrible, it's like $125 or whatever. But so they'll just pay, instead of $4, $8 a click, they'll pay $35 for a 99% guaranteed customer. That's where I think advertising is going, in the middle of ChatGPT and AI and all that stuff. But you're going to see these companies pay for these millions of dollars. I don't know how long they can last doing that, though. Probably a while.
Yeah.
But,
Brian, you bring up a good point and I've gone back and forth on this as a software provider, is integrating to OTAs when the average consumer wants to book directly. But I know how convenient it is for campground owners such as yourself and Matt, where you could say, hey, I just need more guests, right? I need more traffic to my website, which OTAs provide. But then the other side of that is, well, the guest sometimes doesn't want to pay those extra fees, and they want that personal touch of going directly to the campground. So, I go back and forth on this, but, I'm leaning more towards like this future state where these, Gen Zers, these millennials, these folks that are using chat, they're going to start using that for everything, to search, to your point.
Mm-hmm.
I think Greg mentioned, you said earlier, using 360 views to look at that campground. That looks cool. Let me book it now. And they're done. I think I even read that Google SEO is down a little bit because people are using ChatGPT and these other tools to define what they're looking for. So I think the future is where people will do more direct bookings. And now it's up to the campground to say, how do I expose my my sites, my spaces, my inventory to ChatGPT? Or do I have to use the software to do that? Right. So I think it's something we'll have to figure out. But
if I was you, I would be building a natural language API at Open Campground. That's and I've told all the big players this.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody's listening to me. That's okay. I'm not saying you should listen to me, but you wait and see. Natural language API. But that's part of what we're doing here too. And it's just natural. Like I really, Greg knows me, right? Like Matt, you don't know me as well. Greg knows me. Like I don't talk about myself and self-promote, right? It is one of those things. But like we've built these chatbots now that integrate directly with CampSpot that basically piggyback. So you can talk to them and they do check in and check out. They'll display photos of the sites in real time, the descriptions. They'll, check availability. They'll give you dynamic pricing. They'll send you pay now links. You don't need any humans. New book is coming next, and then we're moving through the reservation systems, right? To have all this stuff integrated. But like what we can do with that now that we've built it is we can actually, there isn't a system in place for this yet from ChatGPT side, but we will be able to hook that database, that process into ChatGPT. So then you basically, even if CampSpot and New Book and they may, I'm not slighting them in any way, but even if they don't move as fast as we are, we can now offer campgrounds the ability to hook something up that they can make reservations directly in ChatGPT with, or Gemini or whatever else, right? Because we built that path.
Yep.
So like, I don't know how that looks. I don't know how that plays. Like, I think eventually all websites become APIs. Like I think they do, because an agent browsing with a mouse and a keyboard is a terrible experience for an agent. It's pretty slow, as I think somebody brought up. Maybe that was on the call I was on before that here. But yeah, like I think you've just got to think about the new way consumers are discovering things. They don't need to go to your website. They just need, you just need the booking. Who cares where it comes from? To your point, Brent, like who, and I would say like I would have advised 3 years ago, 4 years ago, I would have advised any company to say like who was integrating with Airbnb, considering integrating with Airbnb or hotels.com or booking.com or whatever you're integrating with, right? Like, well, there's probably better things you could do for your software from a competitive standpoint besides just doing that. But now you can go to a cursor and you can say, build me an integration with Airbnb's API. It can be ready in like, I don't know, 6 hours. Like, yeah. So, right? So if you can get to that point, then why not do it? And you can check a box without tying down 10 engineers for 2 months or 6 months or whatever else. So it's like, it could go either way. Like, they're going to have a lot of money to spend and power to play in these booking engines. So if maybe they do win for a while. And if they do win, then you might as well have your inventory available through them. Is how I feel. I don't know. Go ahead, Greg. You were going to say something?
I wasn't. No.
You look like you were. And then
I was going to go invisible. I was going to try to slide on it. I can't. I don't have enough room.
There's a wall there, man. You know, there's a wall there.
There's a wall. I need to go my other direction.
Just that Homer Simpson meme, Greg. The one that he flies
right
into the bush,
melting into the hedge in the background. Right on. Yeah.
What else we got, guys? That was good. Yeah, and it's just to close the loop there too. Like, the agentic commerce is already there. Like, you can buy through Shopify. Yeah, you can buy through Etsy now. Shopify is coming. Stripe has a partnership with OpenAI. Walmart announced they're going to sell all their stuff on OpenAI. That's coming. So like the checkout is just going to be seamless. People are going to grow to expect this. So your fancy website still matters for a little bit, but even the boomers are, as we discussed already, like all in on ChatGPT. Segments of the boomers, right? It's not a
Yep.
it's not a my audience. It's not you can no longer say, like you could with social media for a while, that my audience is baby boomers, and so it will take them 15 years to catch up. That's not the case. There are some boomers who won't catch up, but there are some Gen Xers who won't catch up too.
And it's
So
not the same or the case for every industry either, right? Certain industries, you are going to have human eyes on your website, right? They're going to come to your site. They're going to see what you're about. But to your point, for how much longer? It probably starts disappearing rather quickly.
yeah, traffic does for sure. Like your conversion should still go up.
Mm-hmm.
Like the quality of traffic you will get will be better. So the percentage of people who convert will be higher, but the traffic will be lower. But
Right
nobody
on.
wants to hear that. Like you have so many of these companies that are built with these marketing managers in the helm of their CMO role that aren't really strategy people. Now that's not everybody. There are a lot of good strategy people, right? But we've been through a lot. There's so many marketing managers that sole function is just to call the agency and say, do this. And they don't have that ability to see what's coming, and they don't have the skill set to adopt the new technology. Like they're smart people. I'm not saying that, right? But their skill set is managing. That
Yeah.
doesn't need to happen anymore. All the meetings that you're sitting in, all the strategies you're sitting in, talking about design and call to action and whether the button is rounded or squared or whatever, it's all bullshit. All your email marketing, is about to be summarized. iPhone's already doing this on the screen, even though Apple is shit at AI. They're trying to do it. Gmail's doing this at the top, and eventually it'll be on the summary of your notifications. Here's the daily digest of your emails you got today. Like, even if you're lucky enough for the AI to summarize the marketing email you sent to 7,000 people carelessly that wasn't segmented, even if you magically get that to happen, it's not going to do it in your brand tone and voice. So what are you agonizing about all this stuff for hours? Like, just the way things are changing, and we see this. We see clients that are either like, I will, and there it really is no middle ground. I'm all in this with you, Brian, or like, oh no, I'm going all the way back over here, right? There doesn't seem to be a middle ground yet.
You bring up a really interesting point about segmentation, and it's really more of a question. And I think this is probably in your wheelhouse, Brian, is right. How can we use AI to get to know our customers better, to gather information as we interact and do business with them in a deeper and more efficient way that can in turn allow us to segment our marketing in a smarter and deeper way, and then do more proactive marketing
Mhm.
to then drive more revenue, right? That's something I think about, that, it's on birthdays, or, we get a lot of repeat campers. We have some, if you're ever, Greg, you're a tent camper. If you ever find yourself in the Northeast, come check us out, because we get some really spectacular primitive hike-in tent sites that
Yes.
we have families that book, the same site like 8 weekends a year. And they literally, we've had people try to book seasonal primitive tent camping sites for us. They want it every weekend. I'm like, I mean, sure, it's going to be like 10 grand, but like, sure. And so, right, like we have the data of when they typically book those sites, what weekends they typically book. So like, I'm sure there's a way for AI to like proactively send that email. I'm like, here's your cart, already ready to go for
Yeah.
you, with,
Yep.
bags of ice and bundles of firewood, and like, let's, get that booking ahead, even further ahead. If they're booking it a year in advance, maybe we can get it even further in advance. And right then, the marketing campaigns of, right, we're always looking at booking windows and dynamic pricing and booking velocity, right? I'm sure people are already figuring out a way to automate that in a way that it's looking ahead and reading your calendar, sending promo codes automatically,
Well, yeah, Disney does true dynamic pricing. We don't have true dynamic pricing in this industry. We have a bunch
Right.
of fields you can fill out.
Right. Yeah. True.
Yeah. But to your point, like, yeah, I think there's two pieces to that, right? There's the piece without AI that you've been able to do for a while, which is just organizing your database. So
Right.
like using something like a CRM, like we use HubSpot at our company, right? But like,
Yeah.
and HubSpot has traditionally been super expensive, but now they have starter plans that are like $20 a month for the basics, and the CRM's always been free. And so just like you can't count on your property management software to be that because they're not a CRM. It's like the old TV VCR combos. Like if any of you guys are old enough like I am to remember that, they worked, but they didn't work as well as a separate VCR and a separate TV, right? And so your PMS system is not intended to be a CRM. It can function as that because it gathers all the data and collates it in one place and whatever else, right? But like CampSpot has a really nice integration with HubSpot that pushes all that data over to HubSpot. I'm sure NewBook actually has a little bit better of a CRM built in, but it's still not a HubSpot, right? And there are other good CRMs, to be clear. I'm just giving one example. But organizing that data and segmenting and collecting information on people, like what is their birthday, for example, where are they from, what state did they stay in, and your property management system has a lot of that. But the extras of starting to prompt your guests when they check in and saying like, hey, we would like to personalize your stay and make it a little bit better. This will help us do this. Here's 5 questions or 10 questions. Just answer whatever you want, right? We're not asking for your email. We're not trying to email market you. We're trying to make your stay better now or in the future. Let me ask these questions of you. What is your birthday? What is your whatever? And some people will fill it out, some people won't. But that's the first step, is segmenting and organizing that information. The more data you can collect, the better. So you have, if you do email marketing and you track that, you can tie that visitor who clicked the email to what they did on the website. What pages did they browse? And then if you do, like, we can get into all geeky stuff, right? But so segmenting all that stuff and tracking it is the first place, and organizing it, and then having AI act on it is the second piece of it. But like there's been plugins for years. Like we use a plugin called WP Fusion for WordPress that links CRMs to WordPress. And then you can take the data that you have available in a CRM for a customer, and you can, if they're logged into the website or it knows who that person is, you can show or hide a coupon on the sidebar of WordPress that's specifically only for that person. It doesn't show to anybody else, right? So there's all kinds of ways that you can do that personalization, but then just taking the data and putting it into AI and forecasting it out. Yeah, this is a big underserved opportunity, right? Like a lot of the big reservation, well, CampSpot specifically, I'll call out, does a good job with sharing their analytical data and stuff like that. And they do a great job. But even then, like I'm going to put some significant capital into data from the Modern Campground side in 2026. And I think we can do some very interesting stuff with AI to help the industry that we'll release publicly. We did MC reports for a while. We put that on pause in 2025 because Scott and I were pretty busy, but we're going to get back to that. But the amount of like just data we're going to collect and collate and release for the industry and be able to forecast, I think is going to be really interesting. And AI lets you do that to the level we've never been able to do it before.
I think the question is now, Brian, like adoption of how do you get customers that are older, that aren't used to using these types of tools, adopting the philosophy of you should start using AI. You should start using these tools that we're giving you because they're so valuable. So I think it's just more of a question, I think, for the group, because it's always, I think, a challenge for me to kind of figure out this adoption for people that aren't as tech savvy as what you want. At that, when you think about that learning curve, at the bottom of that bell curve is, I think, a lot of our customers, right? Like,
why don't you speak to that, Matt? Because you said you went through your struggles learning and adopting AI. How do you see that?
You know, it's a really interesting question. I think as younger generations kind of get further into the workforce, I think it'll kind of be a problem that solves itself. But I do, right? I think it's, you know, I speak with some like marketing purists, and I get it, right? Copywriting purists that get so offended by the thought of like AI helping somebody write something. But I think that's going away, right? I think it's not, there's always going to be the purists, and I respect that. But one thing that I've really tried to keep in mind, right? I think there's a lot of fear about AI. AI is going to replace me. AI is going to replace my job function and my role. And I think there's some truth to that, but I think it's way overblown. I think what's really more true, this is an original thought to me. This is, following people in the industry and who share their thoughts on AI, but it resonates, is that the people who adopt and embrace and learn AI are going to be able to do the job functions of 8 to 10 people.
For sure.
So, right, you're going to get indirectly replaced by AI. You're probably not going to get directly replaced by AI. You're going to get your role is going to get absorbed by the person who does adopt.
Yeah. Oh,
AI.
yeah. I agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I primarily use it for content creation and writing, and I still edit everything that I write and still write. I give it 1,000-word prompt on what I want to create, and then I tell it 10 different ways how I hate what it came up with.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But it's still so much, right? As somebody who's just really dove into writing, the hardest thing is sitting down at the blank page. I go for my morning writing session. I used before that 2-week period that I talked about of really just going hard to learn it, I would wake up at 5 a.m. and I would sit at my computer and try and write 5 tweets from 5 to 7 a.m. And it would take all 2 hours and I would be exhausted after that 2 hours. And then I was like, I got to find a better way. And that was when I spent that 2 weeks, going through all different prompts and prompt engineering. And then it was it's not gonna write for me. It's gonna help me. I generate ideas and angles and hooks and all the things that are gonna make my writing perform, better.
Yep.
And then it was like, all right, I've kind of figured that out. Now I've got I solved the idea generation thing, and now it's migrated from just writing to I've been dabbling with this AI called Co-Founder.
Okay.
And it's pretty interesting. It's through a commercial real estate group, Jake Heller, who puts out a lot of really good content specifically for commercial real estate. But, hooking up Google Scripts to the AI and hooking it up to my email. So now I can have an AI that scrapes all my email for broker OMs and Crexy listings. It puts it into a sheet, it parses it, it collates it, and it then even starts to dive in and tell me what it thinks about those deals. And I think about the CRM point that CRMs might be in trouble.
Oh, yeah.
Because and I'm a HubSpot evangelist. I think it's an amazing company and software, and I love it. But do I need a CRM if the AI knows everything I do, and eventually it's going to know everybody who I talk to on the phone? It's going to read all my emails and it's going to tell me what campground I should buy. It's going to have completely underwritten the entire deal and done not to call you out, Greg, but it's going to do the equivalent of a $20,000 feasibility study. That's not so far fetched to think of. That guy Jake put out a mega prompt of a feasibility study, and obviously there's a human element and intuition, and I'm not saying you'll be replaced by AI. I don't believe that, because it's years of experience, but over time you'll be able to download all of that years of experience to AI. And if you're doing feasibility studies, you'll be able to do them at 10 times the clip than you can do now. And I think it's pretty fascinating to just kind of look at, okay, what do I spend my days on? Let me track my time and see how I'm investing and allocating my time, and then start to think about what can I
automate?
What can I do? 10% of that with AI? Oh, okay, I mastered that 10%. Can I do 50% of it with AI? And then it's kind of a cliche, and I don't want to sound like I'm overselling it or anything, but you'll almost get more than 24 hours in a day, right? compared to
Oh, yeah.
before.
I still remember like pre-COVID, 2018, 19, living in Cleveland, and I would wake up at 5:30 in the morning and I would go work out, and then I would come back and I would voice over like 2 different podcasts that I had going on Spotify, and then I would sit down in front of the camera and I'd film 2 videos, and it would take me like 5 hours, and to your point, Matt, like I'd be tired at like 9 o'clock in the morning, but I did all that manually, and now I can do that automatically, right? And so, yeah, it's really interesting where it's going. Did I answer your question, Brent? Were you talking more about the consumer or business, or?
Yeah, I think the customer, the owners of these campgrounds and RV parks, just trying to figure out what's the best way to get them to adopt new technology that breaks the mold of previous thought, the previous strategies.
I think they're going to have to run into a problem. That's what I think. And it's even with our chats and calls, we see the same thing with like, I would have told you, like, I don't understand why you don't want somebody answering your phone when nobody's answering your phone after hours. Like I would have told you that would be like a no-brainer for people, right? And lots of people have signed up, right? But not to near the extent that I would have expected. And so I think it's going to take something that is a pain point for them. And whether that's revenue dropping or camper nights going down or the economy continuing to soften to the point where they're like, maybe this is a little bit more affordable, or I need more revenue, or I need whatever. I think that's what it's going to take. It's like a pain point that they can clearly see that is going to make them want to adopt that. But yeah, we have to wrap up the show. I think we're over. So final thoughts. Matt, you want to, since you have to go, final thoughts, and then where can they learn more about Unhitched and Climb Capital?
Yeah, final thoughts are I got to go learn more about AI because there's so much more to do in so little time, so many more guests in demand to capture. So Unhitched, you can go to unhitchedmgmt.com. We are excited about the third party management segment within the industry. We're seeing a lot of movement on that side of the industry, growing that quickly. And Climb Capital is our investment company that owns 16 parks. We currently third party manage another 10. So if you're looking for tips or, you've had in the back of your mind third-party management, looking to, step out of the day-to-day operations as a legacy owner, that's what we love to do. So you can go to, like I said, unhitchedmgmt.com and reach out, and we'll chat.
Awesome. Thanks for being here, man. I really appreciate your time. Greg,
thank you. It's a pleasure.
Great discussion today. Really enjoyed this. Enjoyed meeting Brent and Matt. Oh, Matt just pulled a Claude Rains. That was fast.
He said he had to go in the chat. He had a meeting. That's why I let him go first.
Oh, I couldn't see the chat. Okay, I got you. Yeah, that was quick. No, really enjoyed meeting you guys. Brent, hopefully you'll make it to OHCE. Would love to learn more about Open Campground and what you guys are doing there. And to just to push back against Matt a little bit, you can't replace this. You can't.
You're irreplaceable.
You can't replace this. Not necessarily this, but the contents that. No, it's certainly going to be. He's not wrong, right? Pretty soon, GPT is going to know. I mean, I use it all the time for my work, so it's learning everything that I know. Somebody else goes in and says, I wonder what a feasibility study looks like. It's going to draw from what it learned from me and a billion other people, but working on some interesting stuff there. And that's also why I lean a little more. I think my due diligence end is going to go a long way for me, because until you can buy a robot, send a robot to a property, teach that robot what to look for, I think I got a good runway on that one. So if you want to learn more about me and what I do with Vireo, growwithvireo.com. If you don't like my website, call Brian at Insider Perks. He designed it for me. I think it's beautiful. But if you have complaints, just go directly to Brian. And thanks for having me on, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Greg. And Brent, last but not least.
Yeah, same thing. I'll echo everything Greg said. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. It's always good to kind of have these discussions of kind of forward thinking, right? We always, tend to stay in the moment and think, okay, how do I serve the customers today? But you always have to have an eye out for 10 years down the road, or now it's a year, 2 years down the road, because
you're lucky.
Technology is not going to wait for you. You have to keep up. So this is just a good reminder, good discussion reminder for me to say, hey, you may need to make some tweaks that might be uncomfortable, but it's for the better. And your customers will gain a lot of value from it, right? And so just trying to find ways to show more value to the customers, I think is paramount. So no, this was a really good discussion.
Where can they learn more about Open Campground?
Yeah, so opencampground.com, of course, is the website. We recently went through a slight change as far as doing more enterprise level features and benefits. So yeah, opencampground.com. And if you ever need a demo or anything like that, you can always feel free to contact us. We'll walk you through it. So yeah, we're excited.
All right, Brent. Well, we'll definitely see you at OHCE because you'll be there, right? You're promising us right now?
I'm going to try.
No, that's not a promise.
I think my partners will. But we're going to.
We need the CEO. We need the CEO. You come and I'll get you a whiskey. Do you drink whiskey or no? Are you a whiskey guy?
Yeah, my wife just bought me a Johnny Walker Blue Label. It was our anniversary yesterday.
Oh, nice! Happy anniversary.
Yeah, 28 years.
28?
Yeah. 20
Congratulations.
Congrats, man.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
I'll buy you a nice whiskey, and we'll talk about how Open Campground can be really successful in the future in a geeky way if you want.
Yeah.
Not that you need me, but I'll give you some cool tips that you can ignore later.
No, I love collaboration. I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, guys. Brent, Greg, to Matt, who had to leave us a little bit early. Appreciate it. It's another good episode of MC Fireside Chats. If you're not sick and tired of hearing from me yet, in about an hour, maybe less, 53 minutes, I will be on Outwired with Scott Barr. We're going to be talking about a couple different topics today, appealing to Gen X or Gen Z, I think, and one other topic that I can't remember. And then we're going to talk about a little bit of learning lessons and stuff on how to prepare yourself for the world of AI, teach yourself some skills, stuff like that. And then the latest AI news. So other than that, we will see you next week on another episode of MC Fireside Chats. Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it. See you there.
Bye-bye.